Welcome to Lost and Found No More Secrets with DNA Angels. If you're new to the world of DNA Angels, we are a search angel nonprofit organization on a mission to bring closure and connection to individuals seeking to identify their biological parents via their ancestry DNA results. Whether they are an NPE, meaning not parent expected or non paternal event, donor conceived, adopted, or they just never knew who their biological parent is. Our goal is to provide guidance and support every step of the way. Join us as we embark on a journey of discovery, compassion, and the profound importance of knowing one's roots. My name is Heidi, and I'm delighted to be here with you today. As one of the team lead genetic genealogists at DNA Angels, I've had the privilege of being a part of incredible journeys of self discovery and reunion. I'm thrilled to have a very special co host joining me, none other than Laura Olmsted. Laura is not only an incredible individual, but also the driving force behind DNA Angels. After experiencing her own NPE discovery years ago, Laura didn't just sit back. Instead, she channeled her experience into action, founding DNA Angels and serving as its executive director. Through her tireless efforts and unwavering determination, Laura has turned her own personal journey into a beacon of hope for countless others in similar situations. Thanks to Laura's dedication, the team at DNA Angels has been able to provide over 5,700 individuals with the answers they've been seeking about their biological heritage. Her passion for making a difference in the life of others is truly inspiring. Hello, Laura. How are you this evening?
Hey girl, I am doing great. Do you know though that we're about 20 away from 5,800? So
I
we
looked at
should
the
hit that this week.
yeah, I looked at the numbers earlier today. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it just grows every single week. And I'm just like, it blows me away because I update the numbers on the website
Mhm.
for the totals. And I'm like, wow, just wow.
We're not this
But
little small mom pop organization anymore. We're really
we
making a big
really aren't. Yeah, we really aren't. But it takes a village. You can't be one person doesn't do it all. If we didn't have the rest of our volunteers and honestly the clients that seek us out, we wouldn't be at that number. So we're just really grateful to everybody that's
different.
involved with DNA Angels.
We are, which brings us to an event that this will be airing in July. July is a big
Yes,
month for us at DNA Angels. Do you want to
yes, it
explain why,
is.
Laura?
Well, it is. So we have two annual fundraisers a year. We don't want to, deluge our clients and supporters with constant requests for money. Remember, we do work from home, and if you hear my dog, just go with it. Uh, but anyway, we don't want to deluge our supporters and clients with requests for money all the time. However, what's free to them is not free to us. So in July of every year, we have a fundraiser, and we do the theme of Christmas in July. If I had a Santa hat, I'd be wearing a Santa hat right now, or maybe some reindeer ears. But I didn't want to go that far. But clients never receive a bill from DNA Angels. All of our work comes at no cost, and we rely on donations from clients in a position to help the next person in line. We take our message to the public, and we hope for angel sponsors, to come forward because they believe in our right to know, or they have been in our shoes before or know someone who have been in our shoes and walked a similar path, and they didn't have the help needed that we offer people. So we don't just ask for money on at Christmas and July. We give back a little bit. We like to make it fun, right? So
Right.
there are levels of donations. So for any donation, so if you gave us just a $10 donation, every donor that walks in the door at DNA Angels in July is going to receive a set of friendship bracelets. And I will put a link actually to the small business that's providing us with our friendship bracelets this year. But it's a small business owner, and every July we always select one small business owner to provide us with that basic gift for all of our donors. So this is Knots by Skylar. She's in Texas. I told Angie backstage that this is just a Texas theme tonight, right? Heidi's in Texas. in Texas. Our sponsor for the night, Not by Skylar, is in Texas. So everybody that donates at any level will receive friendship bracelets. And Heidi's did not come in, but friendship bracelets are great. Adults are really wearing these things nowadays. So you're going to get a solid either green or purple, and then you'll get one that's mixed. I also have one that says DNA Angels, but we decided not to include that with the basic package this year because it's a little bit more expensive for us, and not everybody is going to want a branded, bracelet. They're going to want, just the colors. And so I thought, let's just do the dual friendship bracelet so it can be our little secret, right?
Right.
You don't want to have to explain to every single person that recognizes your bracelets what's DNA Angels, what does that mean?
Mhm.
Maybe you're not out of the closet, so to speak, and your friends don't really know about your situation. So that's just going to be us. So that's every single donor that walks in the door. And then at the $50 level, we have a Tree of Life necklace that we're going to give away plus the friendship bracelet. $100 donation gets you a t-shirt, plus the Tree of Life necklace, plus the friendship bracelet. And then we've got something very exclusive to DNA Angels this year. We have boot camp. So DNA Angels boot camp. And what that is we've come up with a class to teach you how to understand what you're looking at when you look at your DNA matches, and how that impacts your biological family tree, how to separate. We're going to teach you how to separate the matches into different networks. We're going to teach you all types of different things that you can do with your ancestry tree. And there will be live Zooms. So I'm going to do two 1-hour Zooms. One Zoom to teach you how to separate the matches and work within ancestry. And then I'm going to do a 1-hour Zoom just to take live questions and work with you on your tree. This class will be limited to 25 people because obviously I can't answer that many questions within an hour. And I will extend it for an hour. When we have live questions, we don't walk away. And if you happen to miss the 1-hour Zoom that you signed up for, we are recording it and we will send it to all of our donors, regardless of whether you show up for the class or not. All of our donors at the $250 level, I'm going to send you that Zoom, the first one and the second one. So the training, the handout, everything that comes with boot camp, you will get regardless of whether you show up. And the same thing goes for the Zoom that we have with questions. So many people watch us and they say, I really want to do what they do. Sign up for the boot camp. It's very exclusive. It's only going to be offered in July. I don't know that we'll ever offer it again at $250, right? Because this is valuable. It's worth way more than $250, especially when you get a one-on-one chance to talk to somebody for as long as needed for you to understand your situation. Okay. And then just a couple more levels. We've got a brick wall jump starter package, which is only for Christmas in July. That's at $500. And you can get a specialized research package for all of your research questions there. Kate Penny Howard's going to head that one up. And you can get more details on our website for that package. And then our family history poster at $1,000. We're going to create a family tree for you. And then we're going to put that into a beautiful poster. And we're going to use the company that Krista Cowan just purchased. And Krista Cowan is the corporate genealogist for Ancestry. And she just purchased a company. And I am so sorry, I don't remember. Krista, if you happen to watch this, I can't remember it right now. But there'll be a link in the description because I'll remember it by the time we get this posted. And of course, you're welcome to obviously donate more than $1,000. We need those angel sponsors. So if you want to be a physical FISCAL sponsor for us next year, please donate in July and make our dreams come true and know that we're going to hit our budget requirements for next year. And that's all I got to say.
Right. Well, at our last managers meeting, I heard the number of the dollar amount number for us to just keep the lights on and just provide people with their biological truth. And I knew it was expensive, but I was shocked. So we really count on those people contributing. And, for those people that didn't have the ability to donate once your case was solved, this is your ability to pay it forward to others to help them get their biological truth as well. And those are some great. I would have signed up. I'm personally not an NPE or adopted, but I would want that boot camp course back when I was learning on how to be a search angel. I would have loved to have taken that course. So yeah, that's great. So let's do an introduction to Angie, who is our special guest today. Today's guest is Angie, whose life took an unexpected turn at the age of 43 when she discovered through a DNA test that her father was not her biological father. What followed was a journey of self discovery and revelations that would reshape her understanding of family and identity. Angie's story is one of resilience and determination. After initially believing she had identified her biological father, doubts crept in, prompting her to seek concrete proof. Enter DNAngels, led by the relentless efforts of Laura. With Laura's guidance, Angie embarked on a quest for her true biological father. The journey was riddled with uncertainty and emotional turbulence. Yet, Angie's determination never wavered. What ensued was a profound unraveling of secrets, a reconnection with her roots, and the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Angie's journey is a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of seeking one's truth. Let's welcome Angie to the show.
Hello.
Hello, Angie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad that I have to tell you that I wanted to learn a little bit about your story before doing the show today. So I peeked into you and Laura's client room
Mm,
had together. And I really think that Laura should have a disclaimer. I decided this today. You should have a disclaimer, Laura. When you start a new case, you have to tell them to buckle their seatbelt. Buckle your seatbelt.
I do that a lot.
Because I was
Yeah.
reading it, I was like, and wow, and wow, and wow. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear your story today.
thank you. I love to share it, It's just like you said, it's a wow story. I never imagined. And, when it first happened, I couldn't imagine. And then it just seems like, just like you said, it was one thing after another unraveling. And I'm so glad that it brought me to Laura. And gosh, she kind of took me across the finish line with it.
She did. She did. Well, let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about your family structure and what it was like growing up for you?
Yeah, so I was the youngest of three children. I had a brother who was 8 years older than me, and my sister was 6 years older. My mom and my dad were married until I was about five or six. They divorced. They got back together and they divorced again. Pretty unstable. And it wasn't long after my mom up and left to go to California and left me with my dad. I literally came home from elementary school one day and everything was packed up. And I'm like, oh, we're moving. And she's like, no, I'm going to California and you're moving in with your dad and your stepmom. So that was it. 25 minutes later, I was, in a van on my way to live with them, where I spent 5 years. And, after that time, I did move back in with my mom. She had remarried a few times, moved back and forth from California and Texas. So it was pretty unstable. Um, but, it's funny. The one thing that I knew, uh, I knew who my mom was and my dad was, and I knew who my family was.
Right.
Given, it could change at any minute and we may move across the country or mom may get remarried or, something like that. I knew, I thought, who I was, who my family was, and where I could go for help or a hug or anything like that. And I had a rough relationship with my dad as a child and as a teenager, but it was weird. When I hit those early adult years, we really, really became close. I mean, we were like best friends. We took trips together and went to Vegas together and We were just so close. Matter of fact, I remember one time I was going through my own divorce, and it must have been 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. My front doorbell rang, and I was terrified. And I go to the door, and it was him. And there he was with his truck, pulling the boat, had drinks and donuts, told me to get on my sweats, let's go. I needed some lake therapy. You
That
know,
is amazing.
it was great. We were best friends, and man, it was just wonderful. So let's fast forward. Life happens, things change. He had remarried a couple of times, and then he had remarried, and that kind of started the downfall of our relationship. So there's a lot involved there. Um, I'm not going to blame anyone. I think that we all took part in it. I know I did things that I should have done differently, and I know that there's things that other people should have done differently as well. So, um, that being said, I didn't have any contact with my dad from that point on out. He had told me he didn't want to have contact with me anymore. And in 2013, actually, tomorrow will be 11 years ago, my mom passed away. So it was rough. It was a rough time. And in 2017, my brother, like I said, he was very young. He was, I think, 51 at the time. He suddenly passed away. And I had my sister and my nephew with me, kind of doing family type stuff. And my nephew had said something to me that his wife had said something about me not even being his daughter, something like that. And I had just told him, that's really inappropriate to say to you, as my nephew. And then I just let it go, but then I let it stew, and I opened my mouth, and here began this life change. I said, you tell her anytime they want to do a DNA test to let me know, because I knew he was my dad. How dare anyone say other?
What made
So
her think that there was any doubt? What does she
I,
know that the rest of the family didn't know?
well, I think that the rest of the family knew as well that my mom was very promiscuous. There had always been little rumors behind, closed doors and things like that. It never crossed my mind. I had no doubt. But as everything unfolded, I started to hear more and more stories. Now, I knew that my mom was promiscuous. I heard about certain men that had been in her life and things like that, but I never doubted that, wasn't my dad's daughter. So I gladly just said I would be happy to do a DNA test. And I guess she couldn't wait to do that. They were pretty excited. And so we did it like a few days later. And on Thanksgiving morning, I got email from Ancestry.com that my DNA test results were in. And it's funny you talk about learning how to read your family tree. I knew nothing. So I just start going through it all. I'm trying to find last names and this and that. I couldn't find anything. I didn't really know what I was looking at. So there was someone else who I knew who had gone through something kind of similar. And
Mhm.
so she had looked at it as well. And she's like, well, yeah, there's no connection between you guys. And I couldn't believe it. So I did try to reach out to him, no response. And I was kind of shocked. It took me a few days. And then I had a feeling who I thought could have been my biological father. He was my dad's best friend for years and a family friend. And there had been rumors that him and my mom, had been together on and off years and years ago. And so I waited a little bit. I think I waited till after the holidays in January, and I called him and said, hey, it's Angie. And he was just so kind. And, how are you doing? And so I started off by telling him about my brother passing away. And then I said, I want to talk to you about something. I know it's going to sound really crazy, but I found out that my dad is not my dad. And going through the process, doing DNA and things like that, trying to find out who he is, just so I know. And I kind of heard some rumors and thought I would talk to you about that. And he said, well, Angie, if anybody out there other than your dad is your dad, it's me. And so I was like, okay, you know. So we talked, and of course, he's very kind. I always loved him and his family. And so, but of course, towards the end of the conversation, he's like, and he was still married to the woman that he had been married to all these years. And so he's like, I really don't want anyone to know about this. I don't want people to get hurt. There's, all this sort of thing, which I understood, but it was also very hard. It was a rejection, and not only was it a rejection, but it was a rejection by someone that I had known him my whole life and just adored him and his family. So it had a little extra sting to it. And so that was that. The next, the next few years, I struggled a lot. It just started this downfall in my mental health and emotional well-being. I didn't really talk about it. I didn't have anyone to talk about it. I didn't know where to go or even what to say, because this is movie stuff. This stuff doesn't happen in my life or any real person's life. And so I dealt with it though, over time, and kind of started, coming to terms with it. And one day, this must have been, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember if it was in 2020 or 2021, but I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I want proof. I want something concrete. I need to know for sure. Is it him? Because I have doubts.
It
And
was
so,
2020. I remember when I read the room.
okay. And so, gosh, time flies. I just, did what everybody does. I Googled, I Facebook searched, I started looking around at all these different things, and DNAngels came up. And I was just looking through the website, I'm sorry, the Facebook page, and, had talked to a few random people and things like that, and learned more about, what DNAngels does, and reached out. And ironically enough, it was Laura who got my message and ultimately got my case. And Laura had told me, that she would be happy to look at it. It might take some time. Don't get your hopes up. It can be a very long process, and all this sort of thing kind of got me mentally prepared. And I shared my DNA tree and all the other websites and everything that I was registered at. And surprisingly enough, I think it was only 4 or 5 days later, and Laura messaged me and said, well, I can tell you for sure that your dad is not your dad. And also, who you thought was your dad, he's not your dad either. And I just, one hand, I was shocked. And the other hand, I just knew that there was more to this story. It wasn't over. And so she said, I don't know who it is yet. I'm still working on it, but I wanted to let you know that. I'm going to touch base with you. She was working other cases at the time. And so that was fine, all good. And so I waited. And again, it wasn't very, very long, a few days or so. And it was a Friday night. Laura messaged me. It was late. It was like midnight or something. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, messaging late. And, I hit a rabbit hole. That's what she said. And I was like, okay. And she said, I think I have found, it was either my grandparents or great grandparents. And I couldn't believe it. She's like, give me a few minutes. And my whole body just went up in tingles. I couldn't believe it. I was on the edge of my seat waiting. And it must have been, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes later. And she messaged me and she said, I would like for you to meet your father. And she sent me a picture of this handsome man. And it must have been taken, I don't know, in the 50s, or I don't know, but he was so handsome. And I was just shell shocked. And she told me his name and a few little, pieces of information and things like that. And one of the things that she had given me was a possible Facebook page for him. And I pulled it up, and immediately everything just clicked into place, because he luckily had worked at the same place his entire career and had it there listed on his Facebook page. And I remembered my mom worked there before I was born. So there we go. It was a workplace fling.
Have you or someone you know had an unexpected discovery after taking an at-home DNA test? Perhaps you are adopted or a donor-conceived person? DNAngels is founded on the principle that it is a fundamental human right to know who our biological parents are. Our mission is to promote family connections by providing support, guidance, and expertise to individuals facing the complexities of non-paternal events, donor conception, or adoption. DNAngels, finding families one DNA strand at a time.
So I was like, yep, she's right. It's got to be him. Go ahead, Laura.
So I'm just going to put a teaser out there. They were not the only people that worked at that place. We happen to have a volunteer that also worked at that place and knew your dad. But you can bring that information in later. But I just want to tease everybody because it plays a critical role.
Well, see what I mean? Just when you think you know the story, you don't. There's more. So the next thing that Laura had given me was other family information. She let me know that I had 2 sisters and grandparents information and things like that. And then also I got his phone number and I was just ecstatic. So I knew I was going to call him. I knew I was going to call him first thing in the morning. I tried not to get hopeful. You know, I was trying to protect myself and my emotions. I know what it feels like to go through that rejection on a lot of different levels. So I was trying to protect myself, but I would be absolutely lying if I didn't say I was so excited because I knew this was my second chance. You know, I went through that rejection the first time, you know, but this was different. I knew for sure it was him. I could piece it all together. It was my second chance. I just knew it. So I waited and I called about 9 o'clock in the morning and I was just hoping he would answer and not anyone else. I learned that he was still married. And again, still married to the same woman he was married to, you know, years and years ago, back in 1973, 74. So anyways, I called and he answered and he just sounded like the sweetest little old man, you know. And I said, you know, hello. And I told him, you know, who I gave him my name. And I said, my mom is Nancy Butler. And I think you guys used to work together. And he, oh, I remember Nancy. Yes. And all this sort of thing. And so I told him, well, you know, she had passed away, unfortunately, you know, years ago. And that I had just been doing some family research and things like that. And had come across some information that I wanted to talk to him about. And, you know, I kind of prefaced it with, you know, this is really, you know, I know it's going to be shocking. And I don't want anything from you or, you know, anything like that. But according to my DNA, it appears that you're my father. And it was kind of quiet. He really didn't say much. And then all of a sudden he goes, well, what do you want? That cute little old man voice was gone. And it was a very, you know, cold, well, what do you want? And again, I said, I want absolutely nothing, nothing from you. The only thing that I would like is the opportunity to give you my phone number. That way, in a few days, weeks, years, whenever, if you change your mind and you want to give me a call and just talk or get to know me or anything, you have my number and you have the opportunity to reach out. And he goes, well, I don't see any point in that. You know, he goes, there's a lot of people that could get hurt and there's just not going to be any reason to do that. He wished me the best of luck and hung up the phone.
I'm so sorry. I bet your heart was crushed.
Oh, I just, again, you know, my body had a physical reaction to such an emotional, shocking moment. And it was horrible and it was scary and it was shocking and I just couldn't believe it because again, I kind of secretly thought this was my second chance. He sounded like such a wonderful man. And by this point, the previous 12 hours, I had done a complete background on everything. I knew everything about him and his family and my sisters and his wife even, and grandparents and everything. And to go through that rejection again was harsh. So I immediately messaged Laura back, and we kind of went back and forth. I don't remember exactly what we had said, but she said, well, I won't say her name for privacy reasons, but one of the volunteers there knows him. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I think, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't she like in Tennessee or North Carolina or something like that?
Right. So she was born in North Carolina, but she came to Texas for work. And that was one of her jobs. But, I'm so sorry about my dog. That was one of her jobs way back when, is working at that plant with your dad. And I believe she was part of the intake team. She's still with us today. So she was part of the intake team. Yeah. So she was in that room and she recognized the name when I said who your dad was. And she had said to me, Laura, I think I know who that is. And after we figured out who it was, she's like, I worked with him. So when she saw what he said, she came to me and she said, I'm going to call him and have coffee with him. See if Angie's okay with that. And then you can pick up the story from there.
Yeah. So Laura messaged me back and let me know that. And I was like, absolutely. And Laura told me, she said, what's 3 questions that if you could ask him, you would want to ask him? And I'm going to give them to her and she can ask him after she talks to him and everything. And so I had asked him if he knew about me. I had asked about medical history. And then I asked if there was any one thing that he wanted to know about me, And so Laura went back and spoke with her. She had gotten in touch with him via phone right then and there. So I don't know, it was maybe an hour, 30 minutes, an hour later. And I don't know if it was Laura or her that reached out to me and told me that, they had a conversation, that she iterated to him, look, this is the real deal. It's not any kind of a scam or anything like that, and she explained the process and who they are and who I was and, how this was all put together and everything. And he, reiterated to her that, he's married. He didn't want anyone to know. He didn't, she asked him again about the, any possible medical history, because in 2019, my health took a serious turn, and I have been going in and out of hospitals and all sorts of things and diagnoses and stuff. And so it was really important to me to know, family history, because all of a sudden I had no clue.
Right.
So she did talk to him and he gave a little bit of information about that. And I'm so grateful. She did ask exactly what I asked her to. And his response was, when she asked him, what would you like to know about her? He said, well, I don't know, nothing. So that was that. And that hurt the most. Not only was he just outright rejecting me, but he didn't care to know who I was. And I've always said what hurts even more than that is that he didn't care to know who my son is, who his grandson is, who is an amazing young man. And I had that was that, I had no intentions of doing anything else. I was going to try to process this and move forward. And I had no intentions of reaching out to my sisters. I knew that he didn't want anyone to know and all this sort of thing. And I struggled with it for a while. It was about 3 or 4 months. And I finally decided, I had spoke with a lot of different people. I had gone through my own, healing and thought process and everything. And I thought, this is the thing. I didn't ask for this. I have the right, just as I had the right to know who he is, I have the right to know who my sisters are, and they have the right to know me. Now, whether they want to have anything to do with me or not is totally up to them, but I do have that right to reach out to them.
And you're
So
not
I
going to
did.
be treated as a dirty little secret.
Thank you. Because that is what I felt like. That is exactly what I felt like. Everything that I knew about myself was gone. And all I knew is that I came into this world on a bed of deception, and I was nothing except a dirty little secret, one that no one wanted at that. So it was hard. And I decided to reach out to them. I wrote them a long email and I sent it to both of them through email and through Facebook Messenger. Neither one of them replied. One of them blocked me right away. And then the other one just never replied. And I waited, I guess it was another 6 months or so. And I tried again and nothing, no response, nothing at all. And so, that's been a few years ago now, and I have never gotten another response. From him or from either of them. And matter of fact, I don't know if I told you this, Laura, but last year, all of this sparked some wonderful changes in my life. So I'm very grateful for everything that has happened. That being said, one of the things I did was go back to school.
Yep.
And last year, I graduated with my MBA, and I went up for the commencement ceremony and everything. And at the last minute, it was being live streamed. And at the last minute, I thought, you know what? I'm going to message him and I'm going to tell him, hey, I'm getting my MBA and, give him the link and all this sort of thing. And I knew he wouldn't respond. But again, part of me was just hoping and wishing that he would, hey, congratulations, anything, but no, I've never gotten a response
So
at all.
you're communicating through Facebook Messenger with him, or?
No. So yeah, so I have his Facebook Messenger and I also have his telephone number.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had sent him the link for the live stream, both in a text message and through Facebook Messenger.
Okay. See, I was confused because I thought you had his landline.
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. No, it's a cell phone. It's a cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is he alive today? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Do you know if he's still alive today?
Yes. So I keep an eye on them. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but I do. And as far as my understanding goes, he is still alive. Him and his wife both. I think I know as recently, for sure, as recently as December, I know he was still alive, and I still I check often. And I'm going to be really, really transparent and honest. I sometimes wonder that if there ever comes a day when his wife is no longer here, I've wondered if he may be more open to communicating with me on any kind of level. And so I always just, kind of check and
And the
see.
sisters too. It might make a difference with the sisters.
Yeah. Yeah, because
feelings.
I had to stop taking it so personal, right? Because think how, protective we all would be of our mom, so I can imagine. And again, I don't know what all went on. He may have had all kinds of affairs that they all know about and may have had all kinds. I don't know, so I do just kind of keep that door open as much as I can. But still I try to protect myself because again, I shouldn't expect, any kind of response at this point. But one of the things that is another thing, and it's part of the reason why I keep telling my story, I stopped for a while. I did a podcast and a couple little articles and things like that, but I stopped because I got a lot of the feedback, which I know a lot of people get, and that is, it's really not that big of a deal. Does it really change anything? And then, of course, I get, oh, you're still talking about that? That's years old. You're not over that? This is the thing. Your story, it keeps evolving. It keeps changing. If you ask me about my story right now, it is very different than it was 3 years ago, and it is very different than it was 6 years ago. And when I when all this was going on, and the last time I had done a podcast about this, my dad, who, I had grown up with, who ended up not being my dad, he was very, very ill. And so even though he was sick, I still had hope, like I still have hope for my biological dad. Well, I still had hope, that he would reach out, that he would call, that he would say something. Every day I had hope. And 2 weeks after I did that last little podcast thing I did, he passed away. And the thing is, I had already grieved the loss of him because he hadn't spoken to me in almost 10 years or more. But I had hope. And I learned very quickly, at least for me and my process, the grieving hope was much harder than grieving our relationship. And so that kind of changed everything. And so, yeah, I decided I am going to talk about it because I don't want other people to feel the way that I felt, like I couldn't talk about it anymore. I had wanted to maybe do a book about all this and so many other things that were going on in my life at the same time and things like that. And I see, so many other people that have this story, but it's 10 times worse than I ever, can imagine. And I thought, well, you just need to get over it. But I thought, this is just, it's a live, living, breathing thing. It changes, it evolves. It's never going to end. Just like the grieving process, it's never going to end. It's going to change. And so that's why I wanted to tell my story again. And I'm going to keep telling it because it does keep changing. And, when I lost him and I lost that hope, it changed everything. And so, now I'm at the part where, yeah, my biological father is still alive, but he is, my goodness, I think he's 86 now, 85, 86. And, there's going to come that day when he's not going to be here. And, once again, I'm going to have to grieve hope. And that's the hard part. And so I just don't want other people to go through what I've gone through, feeling just like you said, that dirty little secret. So not only are you this dirty little secret, but you shouldn't talk about it. You should be over it and you should move on. But again, just like I said earlier, the two certain things, and I may not, have known where I was going to be living next week when I was a kid, but I knew who my mom was and I knew who my dad was, and I knew the fabric of who I was, and that was ripped out from under me. And you cannot understand what this is like unless you've been through it. You just can't. It's very easy to minimize. It's just DNA. It doesn't matter. Well, your dad is still your dad. Well, guess what? For me, that wasn't the case. He never spoke to me again. So I still didn't have my dad. I lost everything. And in addition to that, like I mentioned, I'm going to be very transparent about mental health, which I think everybody should be, because we haven't been for years, especially in my generation and older generations. This absolutely triggered a mental health crisis for me. And I lost everything. I couldn't hold a job because I was a mess. I lost my brother. I had already lost my mom. I lost my dad. I wasn't who I thought I was, biologically. So I lost my job, lost my, house. I lost my car. I lost everything. And I never in my wildest dream imagined that I would be sitting one day, looking at my phone, scrolling through contacts, trying to find somewhere I could stay. And so the thing is, though, I am so grateful for that because it broke me down to the absolute bottom, and I was able to build up, and I did it on my own, and just, piece by piece. And that's wonderful and fine and good. But again, I wish that I would have been more comfortable with my story and knowing that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to keep talking about it, just like grief. There's no magic date where all of a sudden it's done, it's over, it's better, it's time to move on now. It doesn't work like that. Right. So it's just something that keeps changing and evolving. And I'm so grateful for the process. I'm grateful for Laura, not just for, what she did for me that night in finding him, but for the support system. It, everyone that I have met throughout this entire process that has helped me or I've learned something from or anything has all come from DNAngels and people associated with it. And so I'm so grateful for that because I felt all alone. And again, this was something that happens on TV, not me. So, when you talk, what did you say? 5,600 cases now, almost 57.
58.
Oh,
Almost.
my,
Yeah.
It's like 5780. So like
yeah,
we need like 20 more.
So Angie,
not alone.
what advice would you give to somebody that finds himself in the same situation you found yourself in back, in 2020 when you had this discovery?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for them?
The one thing that I would like to say, similar to what I said a minute ago, and that is keep telling your story. Keep telling your story, even if it's just writing it down for yourself. But one thing that I learned is that, telling your story is very therapeutic, but it helps others a lot more than it may even help yourself. And that, in the end helped me even more. And so don't the shame, the whole shame thing has so much power, and we just need to nix that. There
Right.
is not This was not our decision, and absolutely you have every right to feel however you feel. Keep telling your story.
That's great advice. Well, thank you, Angie, for agreeing to join us. You have such an incredible story, and I think a lot of people, a lot of our viewers, will learn something from hearing. Is even if it's just how to reach out on the phone, giving them that person and how you did a great script of how you started it, and he just didn't hang up, and
Yeah.
well, you did a really great job.
Thank you guys so much for everything. I just sincerely appreciate it. And Laura, you know what you mean to me. Thank you so
You know,
much.
the same, Angie. You are special to me. I have followed your journey. We're friends on Facebook, and I don't do that with every client, but we're friends on Facebook. And I can't tell you how proud I am of you getting your MBA
Thank
and the
you.
changes that you're doing now. I know that you're leaving Texas and you're moving
I
to the East
am.
Coast. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to have 4 seasons. I'm
I
excited
know.
for you to have snow.
I
I
know.
love
Can't wait.
snow. Yeah, and I'm like in the Midwest, so I get just a little bit every year. So we
Yeah.
get a little bit of everything. So we have all 4 seasons, but we don't get like
Right.
a horrible winter. We
Yeah.
do get a crappy summer, though. I have to say, it gets to like the heat index is like 108 degrees around here sometimes, which I
Oh,
know that's not as bad as Texas. Trust me, I've lived in Texas too. So I'm really excited for you. I'm really
thank
excited.
you. Thank
So
you so
congratulations
much.
on picking yourself up because I know how rough this is. I experienced it myself and it was really, really rough. And it really had repercussions for me as well. It's a traumatic event. And I
Yeah.
don't think that unless you experience it yourself, you can truly understand. And when someone says, are you over that yet? Are we done talking about this? I'm never going to be done talking about
Nope.
this.
Nope.
And just for the record, this we just finished in June MPE Awareness Month,
Mhm.
and people out there are still talking about 1 in 10 get a DNA surprise. 5% of people get a DNA surprise, and I just want to remind everybody that we are doing a scientific study at DNAngels. We are in a position to notice, and we are currently sitting at 16% of those who take a DNA test experience a surprise, and we have a specific scientific way of telling that. So we'll report those numbers at the end of the year, final numbers, but just know that it's way more than 1 out of 10 or
Yeah.
5% experience this. So,
You know,
buckle up.
Laura,
It's going to get
every now
bumpy.
and then I will, mention my story or something like that, or someone will see something on my Facebook page. And it's been amazing to me how many people, like someone at work, side messaged me and said, "Hey, I saw something on your Facebook page. Can I talk to you?" Yeah, absolutely. And someone I used to work with and friends. And it's just amazing. People come out of the woodwork and it's amazing. It's a
Yep,
big thing. It's a big thing.
it is. Well, thank you
Well,
so much for being our guest. We really appreciate it. It is so good just
Thank you
to
for having
be able
me.
to see you and talk to you again and not just be, a voyeur and watch what's going on your page. It's good to see you and talk to you. I wish I could give you a hug one day.
Thank you. We'll plan that for sure.
Yeah.
wishing you all the best, Angie.
Thank you, Heidi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't you just love her? I just love her.
She's very articulate, tells her story very well.
Really, we didn't even have to interrupt her and keep and prompt her. She's
No.
very good at telling her story. I could have went on. I happened to notice the time, and I'm like, okay, we need to wrap because we'll lose interest. Our viewers will drop off after a while.
I know. I think sometimes when people see the YouTube clip and they see an hour and 7 minutes, they're like, oh, I don't know if I have an hour and 7 minutes. But so let's get on to, I believe you found an obituary for.
I did. So
cover.
listen, I haven't been a co-host in a while, so I haven't had an obituary to tell. And I know that Laura's been doing other things, and I just love her stuff. Mm-hmm. So when she found those funny gravestones, I was like, oh, I wish I would have thought about that. And when she came up with the outrageous wills, what people are leaving in their will or doing in their will, it's like, oh, I wish I would have thought about that. But I still have a couple of obituaries in my pocket, and this one's a pretty quick one. So let me pull it out. William Ziegler escaped this mortal realm on Friday, July 29, 2016, at the age of 69. We think he did it on purpose to avoid having to make a decision in the pending presidential election. He leaves behind 4 children, 5 grandchildren, and the potted meat industry, for which he was an unofficial spokesman until dietary restrictions forced him to eat real food. Potted meat. Can you remember that?
My mother lived on that.
I've had it many times as a child. William volunteered for service in the United States Navy at the ripe old age of 17 and immediately realized he didn't much enjoy being bossed around. He only stuck it out for one more. Before his discharge, however, the government exchanged numerous ribbons and medals for various honorable acts. Upon his return to the city of New Orleans in 1971, thinking it best to keep an eye on him, government officials hired William as a fireman. After 25 years, he suddenly realized that running away from burning buildings made more sense than running toward them. He promptly retired. Looking back, William stated that there was no better group of morons and mental patients than those he had the privilege of serving with, except Bob. He never liked you, Bob. Following his wishes, there will not be a service, but well-wishers are encouraged to write a note of farewell on a Schaefer Light beer can and drink it in his honor.
I love it.
He was never one for sentiment or religiosity, but he wanted you to know that if he owes you a beer and if you can find him in heaven, he will gladly allow you to buy him another. He can likely be found forwarding tasteless internet jokes. Check your spam folder, but don't open these at work. Expect to find an alcoholic dog named Judge passed out at his feet. Unlike previous times, this is not a ploy to avoid creditors or old girlfriends. He assures us that he is gone and he will be greatly missed.
I love
That's
it.
one of the funniest ones I've found.
That's good. You found some good ones, though.
Yes. Listen, I wanted to say also before we leave that we are coming to the end of this season. So we've got a few more shows that we're going to record. Then we're going to take a month off. Now, for viewers, they really won't notice much of a difference, but they will notice a month gap where we don't have any shows that we're putting out every week. But I want to congratulate you, Heidi. We started out with me as host and then you as host, and then we decided to keep you as host, and then we would rotate out the co-hosts. You've done really good.
Oh, thank you.
You've really taken it under your wing. You've studied different things and made it your own. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Do you want to give a little teaser to what our next show is going to be?
Yes.
About that one.
So for once, we're not doing a client. So we had always said that we're going to do clients because we have a lot of material, right? Can you hear me, Heidi? Because I can see myself.
I can hear you. Your face is frozen, but I hear you just fine.
It's just a lovely face to be frozen on too. Isn't that just a great expression? Well, anyway. So next week we have the pleasure of having special guests. So we're going to bring on comedian Laura High, who is the self-proclaimed donor conceived person of TikTok.
Right.
She is so funny and so articulate and so well versed on all things donor conception. And then we have donor Dylan, who has over 90 biological children, because there were no restrictions to the amount of times that he could donate. And they weren't letting him know that he was getting successful pregnancies out of it. So he just kept donating because they told him they told him that there would be a maximum, and there was not a maximum. So both of them have really interesting stories, and I cannot wait for our viewers to get to know them. And I am so sorry about that ugly picture that is frozen on the screen. Why is it doing that?
It's fine.
That's terrible. That's even
Making it closer.
All right, well, listen, let's just say goodbye to our viewers and thank them so much for coming.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.